Have you ever been wondering why in Texas, when you're looking at new construction, nobody has basements? We don't have basements here. If you're from the East Coast, West Coast, middle of the country, they've got lots of basements. I've had basements in those areas before, but now that I'm back in Texas, no basements. If you're wondering why, stick around, because I'm gonna show you why in Texas we don't have basements. And it's also why we do some very strange things in the summertime, like water our foundations. Hi, my name is Phil Martin. I'm the leader of the Martin Home Team with eXp Realty, and my team and I do everything residential real estate in the cities and towns north of Dallas, Texas. That's Plano, Frisco, McKinney, Allen, Prosper, Salina. And today I'm here at a build site in the town of McKinney, Texas, to show you why we don't exactly have basements. We don't have basements because we have these really shallow foundations out here, and it has a lot to do with the soil. Here in Texas, everywhere from the Oklahoma border coming down through Dallas and all the way down through Houston, we have what is termed as the hottest soil in the nation. And what that means is there is an incredible amount of clay. And you start digging around here and it sticks to everything. It's just like gooey, thick modeling clay. It's crazy. Gumbo, sometimes we call it. And that clay has a very unique characteristic to it because of the silica plates in clay. It has this incredible ability to expand if it gets wet, or to shrink real small if it gets extremely dried out. For example, a ball of clay with nominal moisture might look like a softball. If you put that in water for 3 months, or let water sit on it for 3 months, it may be the size of a beach ball, if not bigger. If you let it go through a drought for 3 months and it gets no water, it'll shrink down to maybe this big. And that may be extremes, but it gets there depending on the type of clay that you might be dealing with. And so as the cleansing contracts and expands and contracts, it just will crush a basement. You have to have a lot of special engineering to get a basement. That's why, and if you're buying a multi-million-dollar house, you can have anything you want, you can have a basement. But if you're, the rest of us, buying production homes like this one, they're gonna have a foundation that is built like you see right ahead. They're gonna put some boards around it. Those are called form boards, and they're gonna form it up. And then what they're gonna do is they're going to dig trenches through it. You can see they've got trenches, and I'm being real basic here. It gets a lot more detailed than this, but here's the bottom line. They trench it out, and the dirt squares in between, they cover with plastic. Sometimes they'll condition the soil. They might extract moisture. They might add moisture to make it nominal. They cover it in plastic and they encase it, so that way it's not exposed to the moisture variations, and it stabilizes the pillows, is what they're called. Then they pour concrete in there, and as you can see, concrete goes down in these cracks, and it looks like a big, just tic-tac-toe board, right? And actually, once the concrete is poured in there, and the concrete in the middle, maybe 3 or 4 inches thick, but in these trenches called the beams, it gets real deep and it gets real thick. And this would be a perimeter beam around the outside of the house. They reinforce that with all kinds of things, right? And so they pour the concrete on there, and imagine once the concrete dries, and if you picked it up and turned it upside down, it would look like a big waffle iron. And so basically, you see these red cords that are crisscrossed across the green plastic. Those are actually what's called tension cables. Inside those plastic sleeves are super thick cables of steel. And they'll pour this concrete, and after about 4 or 5 days, and you and I think, wow, the concrete's hard, it doesn't go anywhere. No, it's still curing up. They'll put about 30 to 50, 60,000 pounds of pressure on each one of these cables. And when they do that, your foundation will go from flat and it'll bow up. If you're an engineer, you know what I'm talking about. If it bows up, it makes it so much more strong. And so you've got this, it's almost like a surfboard, right? It's very hard, very strong, and it's floating on the soil. And the soil is going to expand and contract. It will, right? It'll go up and down a little bit. But that surfboard is just going to ride the wave, so to speak. And on top of it, you're going to have a whole bunch of sticks held together with glue and paper and little staples and nails and some other stuff, right? And that leads me to number 2 thing you're going to find in Texas: no basements. And number 2, your house on the inside will have settling, and you'll get these really fine cracks here and there at the joints. And that's because this very fragile house floating on a stiff surfboard of the foundation that's moving with the soil, it's going to move around a little bit. So that's why we have orange peel walls. They're not real smooth. If you're relocating from other areas, they'll go, why didn't they finish the walls? They're rough looking. That's how we do it here. Hides the imperfections just right. And so in the summer, I don't know if you guys have ever seen movies where they're in the desert and all of a sudden the ground has these big cracks in it because it got so dry. Here, what'll happen, if you let your house, the dirt around your house dry out, it'll separate and move away from the foundation, and the foundation will be suspended on a corner or on a side because the dirt's pulled away. If that happens enough, if the foundation wasn't built right, if the ground wasn't prepped just right, the foundation, although it's strong with the push tension cables, it can still crack. And that part of the foundation will sag. And then you need foundation repair. You'll hear that on the radio now and then. If you're new to Texas, don't be alarmed. It's just part of living here. It's part of the maintenance. It's part of the cosmetics. It's part of everything that we do here. But picking a builder is really important. Most builders, that amount of movement that the surfboard can have, it's called potential vertical rise. I'll get geeky on you, PVR. Most builders build to a PVR 4.5%, 5%. In other words, that foundation can move that much of a percentage. Highland Homes, for example, and maybe some other builders, they'll build to a higher standard. In other videos, you may have heard me refer to building to code as just an ante in the poker game. That's the lowest bar to entry. Some builders go way above that. Here's an example of a builder that does that. They're gonna build a PVR down here to only 3.5%. They don't want that foundation moving at all. Long-term, higher quality home, less potential or much of having to have significant repairs, which costs a whole lot of money. And insurance isn't gonna cover it, really. We water our foundations during the summer. You might hear somebody say that. You can have automated systems do it, or you can go out with a hose every once in a while if it gets really hot, and you water the dirt right against your foundation, not in the crack, but around the dirt, and that clay will just expand back out to support, just like a helping hand, that hard, stiff foundation that it's setting on. If you let water, and drainage around your house in Texas is very important too because of this. If you let water pool up against the house, and all of a sudden remember that ball of clay that was softball size can be beach ball? If it expands on one side of your foundation, here's what happens. That surfboard does this, shunk, and the house that's sitting on top of it, it'll do some really crazy things. And there's no way to take the water out of the dirt. You just got to remove the water from around the foundation and wait for it to dry out. The house will come right back to where it was. Everything is fine. The foundation doesn't break it, right? That surfboard, good to go. But you'll have some cosmetic damage to deal with. We've helped people through the buying process understand these elements about the Texas soil, Texas weather, the location, the things that a builder will do to prep that dirt, the developer will do. There's a wide range of what builders do. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, because quality is important to you long-term, give us a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, best yet, right down below. Click on the Zoom link and let's schedule a call. And when we learn about what kind of house you want, what neighborhood you want, the lifestyle, the quality of life you're looking for, if quality of home is important to you, we can talk about those aspects too, because just like everybody else, we'd like to help you move with confidence. This is Phil Martin out at the build site. I hope we talk soon. Take care, guys.